Hi, my name is Robert Chelle with Chelle Law, and I'm an attorney that assists physicians with employment contract and independent contractor agreement issues. Today I'm going to talk about reviewing a resident or fellowship contract. Now, these are two separate things. I have normal employment agreement and independent contractor agreements when a resident or a fellow is coming out of training and they're getting their first job offer, and then they're obviously going to get a first contract. I'm not going to talk about that today. I'm just talking very specifically about the contract that a resident or fellow signs while they are in training, and then some of the red flags associated with that. And really only two main areas. Obviously, I have tons of other videos about things to look for, and then normal employment contract or independent contractor agreement. But I do talk to residents or fellows frequently who are having some issues and just need a little bit of advice. And kind of the two main things that come up are, I guess, the following. The first one would be Moonlighting Rules. Many residents or fellows, when they're towards the end of their training, or obviously if you're a fellow, you've been through your residency, many want to make a little extra money, and they can do that through moonlighting. So you want to look and see if the contract that you sign with the program prohibits that type of behavior, or job opportunities, and then kind of what the restrictions are. Normally, most programs are okay with it as long as it doesn't interfere with your duties for the program, and then as long as you have malpractice from wherever you're doing your moonlighting. So you want to make 100% sure that if you're working elsewhere, that you have another malpractice policy, because your resident or fellow malpractice policy is only going to cover the duties and the things that you do for that program or facility, or any associated facilities as well. Whereas if you're working for a brand new employer to do any moonlighting or locums work, you would need a separate malpractice policy. So that's the first thing to look into. Next, training obligations. So you just want to be clear. What are my clinical duties? What's the call schedule? What are the educational requirements? Many times if I have someone who's struggling in training, maybe the program doesn't think they're keeping up, you want to have a clear outline of these are the expected responsibilities for the resident or fellow, and then make certain that you are following those. Most programs are not looking to get rid of somebody. Most of the time, if I speak to someone, they've been given, plenty of chances to, correct whatever the, behavioral educational issue is, and so normally they would have a chance to improve and show improvement over time. Yes, occasionally we'll get a resident or fellow who, for whatever reason, the director or whoever's in charge has it out for them, and it's pretty clear there's some kind of personal animus that's driving, potentially removing them from the program. And so just having a clear, understanding of the training obligations is important. Termination provisions is also important. Now, sometimes these are not in the contract or be briefly discussed, and then there'll be ancillary, either policies or procedures from whatever facility you're working at. What happens if you get either kicked out of the program, or perhaps you have to leave the program? Maybe you had a family member who's sick, or just something happened in your life that requires you to leave the program. You want to know, all right, what are the specific things that have to be done in order to leave the program? Or if they're trying to get rid of me out of the program, what are some safeguards in place that would allow me to at least appeal the decision? You don't have a ton of great rights as a resident or fellow if something is going bad. There generally is some kind of process where you go in front of a committee and then could plead your case, or whatever attempting to work out a solution might be. But you need to know, or at least you should know, kind of what those processes are. I mean, for most people, it's probably not super important to know that from the very beginning. The vast majority of people get through the programs without any issues. But I'd say from the outset of when someone approaches you about, we have a concern about X, you need to absolutely look into what are my programs, kind of what's the workflow of trying to get rid of me. That way you can, defend yourself better when you understand what the process is to get rid of somebody. All right, well, that's a little bit about reviews for resident or fellowship contracts. If you have any questions, maybe you're about to get out of training, you have a new contract, an employment agreement or independent contractor agreement, feel free to contact my law firm at the information listed below in the description. And I appreciate you watching the video. All right, take care.